Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of The Extra Point. This past weekend, I think we were all subject to probably one of the worst NBA All-Star weekends that I have ever seen. We had a horrid of a dunk contest. We had a horrid All-Star game in itself. I think it was one of the biggest, travesties in the NBA in the past couple of years. I think it was just so god-awful. And we're going to start with the dunk contest. I didn't see anything wrong with the three-point contest because there's not much you can mess up with the three-point contest. You just got to shoot threes. With the dunk contest, you have to wow the crowd. And I don't think any dunks wowed me at all.
You weren't wowed?
I was not wowed. I mean, first off, let's get into the participants. We had Trey Murphy.
Who?
Exactly. Jericho Sims. Who?
Kinda
Exactly. KJ Martin. Okay, it's Kenyon Martin's son. And then a G League player in Mac McClung. Granted, Mac McClung is a great dunker, but he was in the G League. They had to call him up from the G League to compete in this because I think LeBron ruined the dunk contest. If I'm going to be honest, I think LeBron James has ruined the culture of the dunk contest. Since he refuses to play in the dunk contest, all these big stars like Ja Morant, all these great players that are fantastic dunkers just don't want to compete because they don't want to get hurt. But guys, what do you? I'll let you get into it. What do you think about this year's dunk contest?
Sorry.
No, cook. Go ahead.
You just basically told me LeBron James is the reason why no other athletes want to participate in the dunk contest.
That is exactly correct.
That is the.
No, it's not. He's created a culture.
Are you kidding me?
He's
right
created
now?
the culture around the dunk
Hold on.
contest.
So you're telling me that athletes their careers need to follow in the footsteps of LeBron?
No.
LeBron is the shepherd, and he says, "Follow me. I will lead you to the promised land."
Not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is.
Sounds like it.
What I'm saying is LeBron has set a culture. He's not saying you guys shouldn't compete, but he's kind of influencing these players where they're getting in the same mindset. Where they're getting in the same mindset as him as, it's not worth it. I don't need to do this. Like, I don't have to compete in the dunk contest.
Speak for Zion Williamson. He said if he's 100% next year, he'll do it.
That's one player. That's one player.
But then there's also Anthony Edwards who said he would never do it.
All you need is one to get the bandwagon going.
I don't think Zion Williamson is going to influence everybody.
I guess we'll find out next year. But I think you're full of crap. I'm sorry.
How is that?
Because it's up to the players at the end of the day. I don't think it has anything to do with LeBron. Why do we have to bring LeBron into every damn discussion?
No, because LeBron is one of the greatest players of all time.
Oh, we're not having that discussion.
We're not. But I'm just saying he's one of the greatest players of all time. So, people like to do what greats do, and they're following in the footsteps of LeBron in the sense that he doesn't want to compete, so he's influenced the rest of the NBA to not compete. And that's why we have guys like Trey Murphy III and Jericho Sims, Mac McClung, who was in the G League. Like, Jericho Sims had a dunk that nobody had any reaction to. Nobody moved. Everybody was just standing there like this.
I will say, though, I feel like with the dunk contest, we've seen so many years of it. We've seen so many great dunks. What else is there to prove?
Thank you.
What other dunk can someone do that we haven't seen before? Jump over a car? Blake Griffin did it. Jump from the free throw line? Michael Jordan did it.
So is it time to abolish the dunk contest? Is it time to – because now it's getting stale, especially if you got players like this in it. It may be time to abolish the dunk contest if these two factors continue.
Or these players just aren't creative. I mean,
That's very true.
I've seen some very creative stuff that no one has thought of. I can't remember what year it was, but the blowing out the cupcake.
Gerald Green.
Yes.
Gerald Green.
One of the most creative, underrated dunks I've ever seen in the dunk contest in my lifetime, and it's just that type of creativity. Or I'm sorry I don't have the names on the top of my head, but
I probably remember.
2 basketball rims, one in the
Dwight Howard.
I don't think it was Dwight. But he lobs one and then holds the other, catches it, dunks, boom, boom. That's a 50 in my book. You're not doing that much, but the creativity.
Yeah.
There's other ways to get 50s, not doing the same dunks that we see every single year. It's the creativity, and none of these players have creative minds. So stop blaming it on the players and should we do? It's just
it should be the stars. It should be the stars.
Get a NBA player that has an art minor on the dunk contest.
That's a requirement.
I'm sure he'll give you a good show.
But speaking of the stars, let's move over to the All-Star game.
Oh, God, here we go.
It was actually one of the worst displays of basketball that I have ever watched in my entire life.
Stop it.
There's a reason it was the lowest viewed All-Star game of all time with 4.59 million viewers. It had less viewers than the Pro Bowl. Who watches the Pro Bowl? They switched the rules this year. It was even worse than it usually is, and it still got more viewers than this. Team Giannis won 184 to 175. Another thing, Giannis was the captain. He played 30 seconds.
He was injured.
He was injured.
He was injured. He had a wrist injury.
He should have gave it to somebody
He
else.
had a wrist injury.
He should have gave it to
Hell no. If I'm named captain, why back out now? Let me just get my 3 seconds of,
I think it's
no,
ridiculous.
he was injured. He was injured.
It was genuinely one of the worst displays of basketball I've ever watched in my entire life. I get it. No defense in the All-Star game. It's usually how it is. It's the players.
Exactly.
It's the players. And that's what I'm saying.
And what 2 players showed up?
Oh, don't
say their name. Say their name if you're going to talk about the All-Star game.
Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Okay then. Okay. And guess what was the most entertaining part of the game?
The last few minutes of the game.
When they went up against each other in the third quarter and it was back and forth, where was everyone else? Standing on the sidelines because they didn't care. Who did? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. Who had the most points? Jason Tatum on Team Giannis, Jaylen Brown on Team LeBron.
I guess they have to boost
and guess
their
who
egos.
was on the bench?
Oh,
boost my egos.
They have to boost their egos. That's just Boston at its
That's
finest.
a Heat fan.
That's Boston at its finest, having to boost their egos. That's Boston sports at its finest.
You know what? You know what? I see it like this. Maybe you don't see it because you're too down in South Miami having a good time. But Jason Tatum had a marketing opportunity. He released his JT1s, which are fire, by the way.
Facts.
I plan on buying the pink lemonades. He saw a great marketing opportunity. Okay. I'll let you talk in a second. I'm sorry. He saw a great marketing opportunity for his shoes on national television to get all the attention he needs before he drops them April 7th. Great marketing strategy. Cannot blame him. And you bring up the point how, the numbers were all-time low. You want to know whose fault that was? The draft. All the pregame BS. It took an hour and a half for the game to start. It started at 7:30. The game didn't start till an hour and a half later. People are in bed.
And that's why. Yeah. And that's why this
is President's Day weekend, but still,
it's still one of the worst.
It went till midnight. It went till midnight.
Overall, just god awful. God awful. I agree with Mike Malone. I agree with Mike Malone saying that this was the worst display of basketball of all time. It was hard to watch.
It wasn't even like anything cool happened. Like every once in a while you get a cool dunk, but it was getting to that point no one's playing defense and people are just doing normal, just kind of rim like dunks like that.
Rim grazers.
Like rim grazers like that. Like okay, if you're gonna let people get in the lane, do something cool. Like go through the legs, do a windmill behind, like backwards. Like you gotta do something different. But I think it's gotten to the point for the players where people have gotten injured in the past, and it's like there's no incentive to try hard. I love what the Celtics did, and that was a great point with Brown and Tatum, how they actually had they did well against one another, but. There's no incentive for them. There's charities, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's big enough incentive for them.
And while we bring up this, we'll end it with this.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Tell me the trend. You know what? I'll let you tell me. Tell me. Go ahead. Tell me. I want to know.
Well, I don't know what you're implying.
Who won the 2021 All-Star game?
Oh wow. Okay.
Who won it?
Say that again.
Giannis. Okay.
Giannis won it.
And who won the Finals MVP? Giannis.
So does that
Who
mean
won the 2022 All-Star MVP?
Curry.
And who won the Finals MVP?
Curry.
Who won the 2023?
Tatum.
Uh-huh.
It's not gonna happen. He's gonna break it. It's gonna break the trend.
Have a good night, guys.
But to close, I genuinely think that this was one of the worst displays of basketball, and it is an embarrassment for the league and for the future of the NBA. But that's gonna do it. Stay tuned for more here on the Extra Point. That was.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all, if I could go back, I would. But I can't.
Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzzing overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
Whoa, we scored?
Yeah, we scored going to the playoffs.
I can't believe I missed that. Every time I'm buzzed, I spend too much time on my phone.
I should take your phone away.
No. I'll call for a ride.
Wait, why does my face look like that?
There was a time in my life where I was extremely homesick. I decided that I needed a pet. When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. He jumped up and kissed me and jumped right into my arms. I immediately went up to the volunteers at the shelter and said, I want him, he's gotta come home with me. Now I'm anything but lonely. Every day with Turtle is a perfect day and keeps me company when I'm doing schoolwork. I like it when he jumps up on the table too. He is a veggie thief. He's an incredible companion and my best friend. Can't say that I've met anybody that doesn't love him too. When I adopted Turtle, I discovered all the things that make him unique. He's a little bit of a lot of things, but mostly he's all pure love.
Birds are chirping, it's getting a little warmer, the wind's in the air, spring's almost here. You know what that means? Baseball is back. It's been a long winter, it's been a long time coming. Baseball's back, 2023, and we got some rule changes this year.
Yeah.
Some of the rule changes are a little controversial than others, some of them better for the game, some of them arguably worse for the game. I'm gonna start with kind of a minor change. It's the larger bases. I feel like this change, it's gonna impact a lot of things, impact a lot of stolen bases, make it a little easier for the runner. But I don't think it's gonna be that significant of a change.
I don't know. I feel like low-key, this might actually impact a lot of aspects of the game, especially those close calls when those super fast base runners try to beat it out when they get to first. I feel like this, along with the end of the shift, is going to increase batting averages drastically.
I'm going to have to agree. The standard base was 15 inches, and now it's gone up to 18 inches. So the base length between first, second, and third has been reduced to 4.5 inches now, which is significant. You could think of so many close calls over the years of hairline,
You're right, bang plays.
stealing, regardless what it is. It's not like you got Jackie Robinson beating out a throw from home to first, so on a bunt. But bunts, exactly, another thing. More bunts might be a thing now because it's easier to run out the throw. So I'd be interested to see how well it plays out. I'm definitely sure we'll see more throws that are going to get run out.
Yeah, definitely more offense. I think all sports leagues want more offense.
That is the direction the MLB is going for sure.
Now, kind of a more major rule change, one that's kind of dividing a lot of people, with the shift. Shift is no more. From now on, you must deploy 2 defenders, shortstop, third base, first base, second base, on either side of the bag. No more of the times we have an extra outfielder coming in for 6 people on the right side going to the lefty. The Joey Gallo shifts are gone. The Bryce Harper shifts are gone. No more outfielders in the outfield, and more infielders in the outfield. Now, what do you guys feel about this? You feel like this is better for the game, or you feel like?
Well, I'm kind of glad it's done. I mean, I heard somewhere that a hit was less common than it ever was in MLB history. It was just all home runs, strikeouts, and walks. So I think this is going to create more dynamic baseball. We're going to see a lot more base hits, maybe some doubles, and it's going to incorporate a little more base running because you're going to have guys actually on base instead of, oh, it's a solo home run. Oh, well, there the bases are cleared with a home run. You're going to see a lot more fundamental baseball of guys trying to do all the small things because they can actually find the gaps instead of have to worry about the infield just shifting to wherever they're supposed to hit the ball.
Yeah, I think I speak up for my lefties here. And you're lefty too, right?
I'm a righty, but I do not want the shift.
Anyway, so I think I speak for my lefties here. I played 13 years of baseball, so I know the pain and the difficulties it is to have that shift against you out in right field. So I think it's great for the game. I think this is how it's supposed to be played. Enough with that fancy BS that you guys, the baseball has been playing for a couple of years now with this shift. How you're saying 4 guys down the outfield, or you got 4 guys on the infield lined up from first to second, like the Great Wall of China. Enough. Just play the game how it's supposed to be played. Finally, we're getting on the right track. The wheels are in motion, Jay.
I'm going to disagree with you.
I don't care.
Well, it's my show. I'm going to disagree. It's my show. I'm going to disagree. I like the shift. It is strategic. If you can look at where a player hits the ball most of the time, why wouldn't you put your defender there? Why wouldn't you? If you know they are a pull hitter, why not stack the right side?
I like to see athletic defensive plays by shortstops where you have them diving for balls instead of them just being right
it
there.
adds a dynamic level to the defense. Instead of just lining up in the same spot every time, you move according to the batter. If a batter pushes a lot, you line up on the side. You follow their trends, you use your head, and you go there.
I know, but
maybe the Phillies would have won if the shift didn't exist.
I guess we'll never
Yankees
know.
Because at least we beat the Astros twice. You guys couldn't beat them once.
We're moving on.
You brought up the Phillies, bud. Moving right along, pitch clock.
Oh,
Much
God.
stricter this year.
We do not need this. I mean, pitchers need their time to do what they want.
Pitchers need their time.
It keeps getting worse and worse for the
Pitchers
pitchers.
need their time.
What
but
are they at a
there is-
barbershop?
we are getting
give myself
kind-
a fresh
we are
shave while I'm
starting
up there
to- yeah.
between pitches. Come on.
No,
We're starting to get kind of unnecessary.
I'm
with some
not
of these
trying to
records.
sit through a
Pitchers-
6-hour baseball game.
Pitchers have to deal with juiced balls, smaller ballparks,
You got a lot of time on your
and
hands, don't you?
now the batters
Smaller
are gonna have. Yeah, the ballparks used to be a lot bigger back in yesteryear.
Back in yesteryear. We also had 5 ballparks back in yesteryear when
No,
Polo
we
Grounds was
had
one of
we
them.
had 16.
16
ballparks.
Now we have, 30 individual ballparks?
Yeah, but none of them were as small as like the Colorado Rockies.
Colorado Rockies have a very large field, actually. It's one of the largest in baseball. They
right.
just play in Coors
Boys,
Field.
let's get back on track here. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the pitch clock.
Talk about
I
the
think
pitch
it's
clock.
excellent. I think
So do I.
And you know what? It works both ways. If you're a batter and you take too long to get back in the batter's box,
Guess what? That's a strike.
That's a strike. So you know what? It works both ways.
If you're a pitcher,
It's
you take too long,
It's
that's a
not
ball.
against the pitcher. It's not against the batter. It's to speed up the damn game. And you want to know I did the math. Average takes off 45 minutes from the game. We have our lives, right? We have our own lives. I don't have a whole day to dedicate my time
That's
to
a
watch
significant time,
Yankees game.
Benicio.
Here's
40
the-
that's 45 minutes back to you.
I don't know when I'm
It's a
watching.
natural salesman. I'm ready to buy.
When I'm
Sign me up for
watching-
the contract.
When I'm watching my New York Mets, I just want to see
Oh,
them
you're a
win.
Mets fan. That
I
actually
don't.
answers a
I
lot
don't
of
care
things,
how
actually.
long the game takes. I'm just here to sit back, relax, and enjoy my
And wait
team
for an
pick up the
October
W.
collapse.
Hey,
Every
as a
year.
Mets fan, you get to see the. Oh, sorry.
Oh, wait,
I'm
as a Mets
sorry.
fan, he'll get to see his team
sorry.
play meaningful games and actually.
Look, Uncle Stevie knows what he's doing. When he opens up his pockets and signs Ohtani, we're gonna be playoff bound.
You know
We're
what,
gonna be
Benicio?
World Series
When
bound.
Ohtani strikes free agency, I won't be at this university anymore. I will come back
How's Carlos
in an
Correa?
Ohtani Dodgers jersey
Where's
because he's
Correa?
going to the
Where's
Dodgers.
Correa?
The Dodgers can't pay him the type of
Why
money
can't
that
they?
Steve Cohen.
Who have they paid the last 2 years?
No one's ever offered.
Who
a
have they
fi-
paid?
No one has ever offered a contract for $50 million a year. Steve Cohen is worth $17 billion, the richest owner in all of sports.
So let me ask you something. Let's say Elon Musk bought out a team, right? And he could rightfully buy any player as much money as he wants, and he'll have the most stacked team in baseball. Is that fair?
No.
No. Okay. So why is that applied to Cohen?
You see?
He's worth nowhere near
Okay,
Elon
but
Musk.
he
Elon's
has the
ri-
most money than any other owner in the league, right?
He knows what he's doing.
No.
Listen,
He's
He
a
doesn't
good.
know what
That's
he's
called
doing.
good ownership.
He doesn't know what he's doing
It's
because
called-
when was the last time they won a World
It's
Series?
not his fault that they lost.
All right, let's
It
simmer
was the
down. Let's
lineup.
simmer down. Let's simmer down. Let's simmer down. At the end of the day, we were talking about rule changes, not Steve Cohen. We mentioned a couple of rule changes: larger bases, pitch clock,
Bang,
banning the
bang,
shift.
bang.
Listen, baseball's
All
gonna have a great season this year. Hope everyone's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. I can't speak for everyone else, including the Mets fans and the Yankees fans.
And Phillies.
But that's gonna do it for this segment here at Extra Point. Stay tuned for more.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back to another segment here on the Extra Point. The XFL is back, and that's not the first time I've said that on the Extra Point. I've actually said that on the first episode of the Extra Point that I ever produced, that the XFL was back for the second time. But now, it's back for the third time, and this time, it's owned by The Rock.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought The Rock would, eventually own a sports league? That's just crazy to say. But the XFL is back for the third time, and honestly, I'm pretty excited. I enjoyed it the first time in 2020. It got shut down due to COVID. But what are you guys' thoughts about the XFL being back?
Yeah, I'm really happy it's back. I think third time will be the charm for them. I think even during 2020, before COVID, it was really entertaining. I was watching a lot of those games. It was good football. USFL didn't look like as good football from last year, but XFL looked like quality football. I'm happy that, because every other league, so NBA, they have a G League. You got baseball, there's the minor league. Hockey has their minor league. Every sport has a minor league, but football doesn't. That doesn't really seem, like, you can't tell me there's only, there's 32 teams, there's 54 or 53 people on each roster. You can't tell me that's the only people in the whole entire United States that know how to play football, that are capable.
Yeah, playing at a professional level.
Like, there's no shot. And there's people that are late bloomers that can develop over time. So I think having XFL is a good platform for that. And I think the timing of it was literally perfect. Because, listen, all of us, we're big football fans, right? Yes. The Super Bowl is our favorite game of the whole entire year. Absolutely. But it's also, once it's over, it's like, it sinks in. It's like, hey, I'm going like 6 months without watching a single football game. But no, this year's different. Yeah. You wait 1 week, boom, football's back. Football's back. And I think that's good. And it's good for these players, the timing, because USFL, I think their problem was they started in April, and they're doing that again this year. They're starting to go from April to, I believe, like late July. That gives no time for these players to get into a training camp, to go into an OTAs. They go right to like 2 weeks into a training camp. What kind of shot do they have to really make an NFL roster? The XFL gives these players a really good shot. And I think that, again, the season ending around, I believe it's June, May, gives these guys an opportunity to go to a rookie minicamp, have a tryout, see how they do. Because that's the goal of this league. The Rock has said it. They have the big kind of statement that, like, hey, you're the 54th man. You weren't good enough to make the 53-man roster, so you'd be the 54th man. So I'm super happy there's more football going on, and I'm excited to see where this league goes.
Yeah, I think the great thing about this is when you think about it, we look at basketball. We got the summer league. It's kind of turned into a year-round thing. For football, soccer, you got these matches that are going on year-round. Mm-hmm. Football, it doesn't go on year-round. Like, all of a sudden, we hit February, and then we hit this as football fans, we hit this big stage of depression because you get that sinks in. You're like, oh, yeah, the next game's not the Hall of Fame game until first week in August. Mm-hmm. I think this does that. USFL, it's going to continue right into the USFL season. So I think both leagues, it's going to be, all right, now we have about, let's say, 40, 45 weeks straight football, and then we get to the end of the USFL, we're like, oh, preseason's back. This is great. We get year-round football now. Yeah. No complaints from me.
No, I completely agree. I think the XFL is a great jumping-off point, and that's what's going to kind of go into what I was going to say next about is it good for the sport of football. But I think the XFL coming back is a great platform for these young players or these players that just miss the cusp of making a training camp or a practice squad. I mean, for instance, you got P.J. Walker on the Carolina Panthers. He was in the XFL in its second iteration, and then he was signed because of his play in the XFL, and he balled out for a couple of games.
He played well for a while this year.
So it's one of those things where it is great to have kind of this developmental but not developmental. It's its own standalone thing, but it kind of acts as a standalone. So that goes into my next thing. Do you think this is good for the sport of football?
I think it's absolutely great, and I'm happy that this third way of the XFL, it's not like the very first one where it's very WWE-like. Yeah, is that interesting? Sure, it's a different perspective on football, but is it going to help those players really make the NFL? No shot. They're not going to be taken seriously. So I'm happy they're treating this kind of like a normal football league with normal rules. They kind of changed a couple things out, which I'd like as well, because the NFL might be kind of scared to change rules. Like the XFL, extra points after a touchdown, there's no field goal kicking. You either go from the 2-yard line for 1 point, you go from the 5-yard line for 2 points, or you go from the 10-yard line for 3 points. Now this is huge because, listen, In an NFL game, you're down by 9 points, right? There's like a minute and 30 seconds left in the game. You're done. There's no way. You got to get an onside kick. It's impossible.
Yeah.
This weekend, that actually happened. The team was down, a minute 30 was left. They went down, drove down the field. A.J. McCarron, former Alabama guy, scores a touchdown, goes for 3, gets it, and then instead of onside kick, because we see the NFL, onside kick, it almost never works. So they did a 4th and 10, 15 from your own 25. If you convert on that, you keep the ball. So I think that's good, just rule change that. We'll put some pressure on the NFL maybe to potentially change some rules. So I think it's good for the development of football as just a game in its whole.
I think something else you kind of have to mention, I know this isn't going to be XFL, this is going to be a guy who got put into the USFL, but you have a lot of these top college athletes, these high-level athletes that all of a sudden, they ball out in college, and all of a sudden, oh, no one in the NFL wants them for one reason or another. So there's a guy balled out a couple years in Nebraska, was on a Power 5 high-level team this year at Kansas State, and he knew no NFL team was unfortunately going to want him, even though he's been playing great college football for the past 5 years. This guy by the name of Adrian Martinez. So he gets drafted as a first-round pick right into the USFL, kind of saves his career and is able to start play at a high level again.
Yeah, absolutely. That kind of just, that perfectly segues into my next question. Do you think that USFL and XFL can eventually combine to make one ultimate, league?
I think that's the way it's going to have to go. Because, I mean, right now they're competing with one another. I think that's probably the worst thing they should be doing. Just because you're going to have heads going all different directions. And spring football, like these players, the amount of money the league has, again, The Rock's wealthy. He can invest a decent amount of money, but most owners of these leagues don't have that money. So these players aren't going to be able to make enough money and have, appropriate money for good, places for facilities and stadiums for teams to play in. So I think, honestly, they should both combine. They both each have 8 teams. You combine them together, 16 teams. You have more, owners in the pot. I think that's a way that can, let spring football actually last because we had so many times, like AAF a couple years ago.
Oh, I remember the AAF.
They were great, but then they didn't have the financial backing. They couldn't do it. But if you have more financial backing amongst your league, which would happen in a combination of these two, I think that's how you get spring football to stay.
I think I got kind of agree with the same points as you. I think overall, mostly, especially when we get to April, both teams are going to be playing at the same time. There's going to be definitely a lot more confusion, because let's say, unless you really follow both teams, you're not necessarily off rip going to know which one's which between the XFL and USFL. So I think it's good to eventually they combine, and eventually you get this kind of bigger 16-team league. You can honestly, then you can play more games. You don't have to really play like 8, 9 games. You can make it a 12, 13 game season even, and then you can go. As I said earlier, you can go into July, and then here we go. We're right back into the NFL preseason.
Yeah. For me, I really hope they combine. I think making one big kind of developmental league to really showcase these players would be absolutely outstanding, and I would love to see it. But really quickly, do we think it's going to last this time? It hasn't lasted twice. I mean, granted, the first time, there's reasons it got, slashed, and then the second time was COVID. So really fast, do you think it will last? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I really hope it lasts, but that's going to do it here on the Extra Point. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for next time.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.